You know that exact moment in the evening? The kids are finally asleep after what felt like a marathon of bedtime stories and requests for water. The dishwasher is quietly humming its familiar tune in the background, your work notifications are mercifully muted for the night, and that endless, guilt-inducing to-do list is shoved into a drawer out of sight. You just collapse onto the couch, and the silence in the house is almost deafening. Your brain is still buzzing from the day's chaos, the emails, the meal prep, the endless decisions you had to make. Right now, in this precious pocket of free time, you don't want a heavy, slow-burn drama about a midlife crisis. We have enough of those existential questions hovering over us in the real world, right? And you definitely don't want another empty, predictable comedy that you will forget the moment you turn off the TV. You need something entirely different. You need a pure, concentrated shot of adrenaline. You need a story that grabs you by the collar from the very first second, drags you into a completely different reality, and flat out refuses to let go until the credits roll. A movie that forces you to be entirely present. Because when you are watching someone fight for their life on screen, you physically cannot worry about tomorrow's presentation at work. It is the ultimate mental reset. Today, I have exactly what you need. I have gathered 5 incredible, breathless thrillers that will make your heart race, your palms sweat, and your brain desperately try to piece the puzzle together right alongside the characters. So, I want you to take a deep breath right now. Pour yourself a generous glass of wine or your favorite herbal tea, sink into those cushions, and get ready, because for the next couple of hours, you are going to forget the outside world entirely. Let's dive right into our first experience. I want you to imagine waking up, opening your eyes, but instead of the comforting shadows of your familiar bedroom ceiling, you are blinded by harsh, sterile medical lights. You try to move, but your limbs are restricted. You look around and realize you are encased in smooth metal walls, hooked up to intravenous lines and biometric sensors. You are trapped inside a medical cryogenic pod no bigger than a coffin. You have absolutely no memory of who you are, what your name is, or how you got there. And to make matters infinitely worse, a calm, impossibly polite, artificial intelligence voice informs you that your oxygen levels are dropping fast. You only have a matter of minutes left to live. This is the terrifying, claustrophobic setup for the 2021 sci-fi thriller, Oxygen, starring the phenomenal Melanie Laurent. Now, let's be honest with each other. We all know that metaphorical feeling of suffocating under the crushing weight of our daily adult responsibilities, don't we? Between the hectic school drop-offs, the unyielding work deadlines, the mortgage payments, and trying to keep a marriage alive, our daily routine can sometimes feel like a tight box with the air slowly leaking out. But here, that metaphor is stripped of its poetry and becomes terrifyingly literal. Melanie Laurent carries this entire movie squarely on her shoulders, acting almost exclusively from a horizontal position inside that tiny, unforgiving space. You feel her visceral, animalistic panic when she first realizes she is buried alive. And then, you witness her incredible transition into a cold, calculating survivor. The director brilliantly traps us in there with her. He uses terrifyingly tight camera shots. You see her dilated pupils, the beads of sweat forming on her brow. You hear every single ragged breath she takes. It is an immersive sensory experience. Her only lifeline to the outside world is this onboard computer, MLO, who acts like a maddeningly calm customer service representative while she is literally dying. Through the computer, she manages to make a few desperate phone calls, but every piece of information she gets only confuses her more. You are right there with her, trying to piece her fragmented memory together with only 30% of your air left. The film asks a profound, haunting question: what truly makes us human? Are we just the sum of our memories? If everything you thought you knew about your life was stripped away, who would you be in your final moments? Would you panic or would you fight? It is a masterclass in tension that will leave you gasping for air in your own living room. Once you finally manage to exhale and crawl out of that pod, our next story rips you completely out of a confined space and blows the scale wide open. We are shifting gears into the explosive 2021 action thriller Infinite, starring Mark Wahlberg and Chiwetel Ejiofor. Let's have a moment of honesty. As adults who are bogged down by endless obligations, routines, and the predictable rhythm of our weeks, We sometimes look at our lives in the mirror and think, is this it? Is this all I am meant to be? Mark Wahlberg's character, Evan, lives with that exact, heavy, nagging feeling, but his situation is compounded by something much darker. He suffers from incredibly vivid, violent hallucinations of places he has never visited. He possesses inexplicable skills, like the ability to expertly forge ancient samurai swords that he never studied or learned. Traditional doctors call it schizophrenia, and he is heavily medicated just to get through a normal day. But what if those aren't delusions? What if the medical establishment is completely wrong, and these are real, tangible memories from his past lives? Evan soon is thrust into a hidden war and discovers a secret, ancient society of people known as the Infinites. These are individuals who reincarnate century after century, retaining every ounce of knowledge, every language, and every combat skill from the entirety of human history. For us tired parents and exhausted professionals, this concept is the absolute ultimate escapism. It taps directly into that hidden, childhood fantasy we all push down. What if I have an incredible, world-changing potential inside me that is just waiting to be awakened? What if I am not just an accountant or a manager, but a warrior with centuries of experience? The movie is a massive, high-octane thrill ride. You get mind-bending car chases, spectacular hand-to-hand combat, and visual effects that will make your jaw drop. But beneath the shiny blockbuster surface, it asks a genuinely fascinating philosophical question, largely driven by Chiwetel Ejiofor's incredible villain. His character is exhausted by eternity. He remembers every death, every heartbreak, every trauma from hundreds of lifetimes, and he just wants it to stop. It makes you wonder, if you were given the gift, or the curse, to remember every single past life you ever lived, would you want to? Would the wisdom be worth the pain? Or are some doors of our memory better left permanently closed so we can just enjoy the present moment? But maybe you don't need a global scale to feel your heart pound. Our next film brings the tension right back down to earth, confining us to a single room, but it cranks the psychological pressure so incredibly high that your jaw will ache by the end of it. I am talking about the brilliant 2021 claustrophobic masterpiece, The Guilty, starring Jake Gyllenhaal. If you work a stressful desk job, the kind where you are constantly putting out metaphorical fires from a distance, coordinating chaos through a phone or a computer screen, you know this specific feeling of helplessness. You bear the responsibility, but you lack the physical power to intervene. Gyllenhaal plays Joe Baylor, an LAPD detective who has been demoted, under a cloud of an internal affairs investigation, and forced to work the grueling night shift as a 911 dispatcher. The atmosphere is immediately oppressive. Outside, Los Angeles is burning with massive wildfires, the air is thick with smoke, and the emergency calls are a relentless, chaotic stream of panic. Joe is arrogant, irritable, and popping asthma inhalers just to breathe. And then, suddenly, he receives a call from a woman named Emily. She is terrified, speaking in coded riddles, pretending she is talking to her small child. Joe's police instincts kick in, and he quickly realizes the chilling truth. Emily is in a moving vehicle, having just been abducted by her violently abusive ex-husband, and she cannot openly ask for help. The absolute brilliance of this movie is its strict, unyielding format. You never, ever leave that dispatch center. You do not see Emily. You do not see the kidnapper's face. You do not see the dark highway or the flashing police lights. Everything you experience is filtered through Joe's headset. You hear the rhythmic thumping of the tires, the muffled cries, the rain on the windshield. Your own mind is forced to step in as the director, painting a mental picture far more horrifying, far more personal than any Hollywood special effect could ever achieve. Gyllenhaal is an absolute force of nature here. We watch him unravel. He desperately breaks every single protocol, manipulating his former colleagues on the street, screaming into his microphone, desperately trying to save a woman who is miles away in the dark. This film is a brilliant, devastating look at our adult illusion of control. We want to believe that if we just care enough, if we just try hard enough, we can fix everything and save everyone. But this movie shatters that illusion, showing how our blind spots and our desperate need to be the hero can lead to unimaginable consequences. You will be sitting on the absolute edge of your seat, physically unable to look away from Gyllenhaal's frantic eyes. If that kind of dark, psychological pressure is your cup of tea, and especially if you are one of the millions of people who listen to true crime podcasts while folding laundry or commuting to work, this next film is going to get under your skin and stay there for days. I am talking about the chilling, meticulously crafted 2023 Canadian thriller, Red Rooms, starring Juliette Gary-P. Let's dig into something uncomfortable. Human nature has always harbored a weird, morbid fascination with the dark side of society. Why are we so obsessed with the darkest crimes? Why do documentaries about serial killers break viewership records? This movie explores that collective, cultural obsession with a terrifying, clinical coldness. The story follows Kellyanne, a stunning, highly intelligent, and incredibly successful fashion model. She is wealthy, she is gorgeous, but she harbors a secret life as a high-level hacker. And she has become dangerously, inexplicably obsessed with the ongoing, highly publicized trial of a notorious serial killer. This man is accused of murdering teenage girls and broadcasting the horrific acts live in the darkest corners of the internet, the so-called Red Rooms. Kellyanne's obsession isn't a hobby, it is a compulsion. She sleeps in an alleyway outside the courthouse just to guarantee a seat in the public gallery every morning. What makes her character so deeply unsettling is her complete lack of visible emotion. Her face is a perfect porcelain mask. She doesn't cry, she doesn't flinch. What is truly terrifying about this film is what it chooses not to show you. There isn't a single drop of fake blood on screen. You never see the murders. Instead, the horror is built entirely through the suffocating atmosphere of the sterile courtroom, the agonizing sound design, and the devastated faces of the victims' families as they listen to the evidence. Juliette Gary-P's performance is a mesmerizing puzzle. You will spend the entire film trying to figure her out. Is she a twisted, romantic fan of the killer? Is she a rogue vigilante trying to find the missing video evidence to convict him? Or is she simply completely insane? The film holds up a very uncomfortable mirror to our society. It makes you wonder about the digital footprints we leave, how far down the dark web rabbit hole a person can go, and whether merely observing evil as a form of entertainment eventually turns you into a monster yourself. It is a heavy, incredibly stylish, and deeply disturbing piece of cinema that you won't be able to shake off easily. And that brings us to our final story for tonight. A film that takes us right back into the supposed safety of our own homes, only to completely shatter that illusion. We are wrapping up with the 2021 sleek, sexy, and incredibly twisted thriller, The Voyeurs, starring Sydney Sweeney and Justice Smith. Picture this scenario. You and your partner finally take the plunge and move in together. You find the absolute perfect dream apartment in the city. It has beautiful exposed brick, massive floor-to-ceiling windows, and it feels like a fresh, exciting start to your adult life. But one evening, while unpacking boxes, you notice something across the street. The glamorous, incredibly attractive, and highly eccentric couple in the building opposite yours never closes their blinds. Not ever. Their entire lives are on display like a stage play. At first, for our young couple, it's just harmless, amusing people watching. They even buy professional binoculars and laser microphones to get a better look and listen. They give their neighbors funny nicknames and treat their lives like a live reality television show. Let's be real, it is the exact same psychological mechanism as scrolling through a perfect, provocative influencer's Instagram feed, just transposed into the physical world. We all secretly compare our messy, mundane routines, our arguments over who takes out the trash, to the glossy, passionate facades of other people's lives. But what starts as a fun, slightly guilty pleasure rapidly devolves into a toxic, all-consuming addiction. Sydney Sweeney's character becomes entirely fixated on the man across the street. And when she witnesses what she believes is a betrayal through her camera lens, she crosses the line from passive observer to active participant. Suddenly, this light-hearted, sexy premise turns incredibly dark. You are dragged headfirst into a dangerous web of lies, deceit, and deadly manipulation. The film brilliantly plays on our darkest, most primal desires to peek through the keyhole of other people's lives, to know the secrets they hide behind closed doors. The plot twists in the final act are so wild, so completely unhinged, that you will literally find yourself yelling at your television screen. I can absolutely guarantee that the very first thing you will do after the credits roll is walk over to your own windows and double-check that your blinds are securely closed before you go to sleep. Life is loud. It is demanding, it is overwhelming, and it constantly asks us to give pieces of ourselves to our jobs, our children, and our responsibilities. Sometimes, the absolute best thing we can do for our own mental health and sanity isn't just taking a nap or trying to meditate. Sometimes, we need to give our brains a massive, shocking emotional shakeup. Immersing ourselves completely in someone else's desperate fight for survival, unraveling their dark, twisted secrets, and experiencing that intense, heart-pounding catharsis from the absolute safety of our couch is incredibly therapeutic. It allows us to process our own hidden anxieties. And the best part is that when the screen finally goes black, we get to look around our own messy, beautiful, quiet living rooms, take a deep breath of our own free will, and feel so incredibly, profoundly grateful for our own boring, safe lives. These movies certainly won't do your laundry, and they won't answer your emails, but they will give you those 2 hours of pure, concentrated oxygen that you so desperately need to recharge your batteries. I really want to know which of these thrillers caught your eye, so please tell me in the comments which one you are planning to watch tonight. And if you enjoyed this journey and liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us. There are so many more inspiring stories, deep dives, and useful ideas ahead of us. Have a wonderful, thrilling evening and take care of yourselves.